Hi, Davi here, and today we have a new episode in the art session series. And today we'll be doing an overview or a voiceover of this study I did. I did reference the work of Wenjun Lee. I believe we recently did an art review of the guy in the art review playlist, our series on the channel. And I was studying one of their older works. In their more recent work, they do tend to use like some lines and they combined it with some painting underneath. But in their older batch of work, they mainly focused on just pure painting, meaning there's no line work, everything. It's very like ruan esque, or think of the old works of Feng as well. Mainly focused on like the values, colors, and stuff like that, and heavy on the brushwork. Lots of like brushy strokes. For this case, I wanted to focus more on the top part, the body, sure, but mainly the head. Now I was struggling a little bit with the I guess the physique, because this guy, this orc person, I think it's a Warcraft character. I don't play games, but I feel like I've seen this type of character before. It's like a big ogre orc, kind of guy. I believe there was like a movie of it, like a live action film of it. I didn't really get the movie, and it's sad because the guy died. Like the main like orc guy was kind of good. Like he died, so fuck that. Anyway, and his wife was super hot. I would totally Anyway, so I think I spent some time trying to figure out the silhouette of it, like just trying to find the massing of those like huge arms, and maybe those hands a bit. But I decided to like stop there. Somewhere along this process, I eventually decided to just focus more more on the face, because obviously the face is something that most people look at, and it's also interesting, seeing because I want to be able to draw like these types of like beast like characters. Orcs, goblins, basically like creatures who have humanoid forms, but their faces or heads are kind of different, right? Like lizard people, basically furries, right? Anyway, so everything here was done in black and white. I did use some brushes. Yeah, it was the same brushes that I've used in the last episode. Most of it is like charcoal type brushes, and I think at max I used like three brushes all in all. So there is some brush variety, I guess, here. And I think it helps again when you're doing these studies to know exactly what you're trying to go for. For me, I just wanted black and white, grayscale drawings. Well, it's not a drawing because there's more value involved here, so it's more of a painting. And that's what's cool about charcoal. It's sort of like, because of the medium, you can go from drawing something to painting something. I think this applies more with like traditional charcoal, but obviously because these brushes look kind of like that, it has that vibe, right? So I did have some line work in the beginning, but they're not tight. They're more to find the massing of the body, the torso, those arms, the head. And what's cool about changing your brush size quickly and going back and forth is you can fill in large areas quickly, adding in those shadows for those, for the underside of those shoulders or chest, for the bottom part of the torso, and even adding the silhouette, the rough silhouette of the beard, and even the eye area where the shadow is being casted because their eye are kind of set in. Big brows, and yeah. I also did add the background. I made basically the whole top of the background super dark and added like a gradient, so as it went further down, it kind of becomes lighter. And I think it helped make the piece a little more cool. So I would consider this more of a value study, like a quick painting study, a value study. And I think I did a good job. And what I learned from this session is not to shy away from the LIQUIFY tool, because as you can see, I did like an okay job in the beginning, but I wanted to like capture a little bit of the likeness of the character of this painting by Wenjun Lin, and I noticed like the proportions were a bit off. So I played around with the LIQUIFY tool in Clip Studio Paint, and I was able to achieve and capture a little bit of that likeness. And that's the thing about the face. Sometimes it's these little changes that you have to make that you have to be very aware of, because it can like make or break your piece. Again, it wasn't a bad painting in the beginning, but I just felt like I needed to learn more about how this face looked. And I noticed like the top part, like the space between the nose and the upper lip was kind of short. But when I tried to expand it, kind of like the photo reference that I had, I realized that for these types of creatures, they do have a higher space in between the nose and the upper lip. So their mouth is kind of super large, very kind of elongated compared to like the average person. So these are things you notice, but you can save time noticing these things by just using the LIQUIFY tool. Instead of painting it over and over again, a simple LIQUIFY tool can help save you time. I know some people don't like that, or they advise you not to do that. They whatever, people have preferences. For me, don't shy away from the LIQUIFY tool. And I was watching this episode or this random art video, and this chick, she mentioned how whenever she looks for like programs or apps, she always looks for whether or not they have LIQUIFY tools, because if it doesn't have LIQUIFY tools, it just slows down her work. And I do agree. Now that I've actually used more of it. Now when you do warp things with the LIQUIFY tool, it can like change the pixels or something. Like it kind of gets a little bit blurry, so you're gonna have to paint over it. So that, for me, that's like a good thing to do. I'm not really worried about that. But it's a lot easier than painting everything from the beginning, right? And yeah, I think that dark background really helps to make the whole sketch, especially the top of the head or body, pop out even more. So sometimes you could have like a plain white canvas, but sometimes adding a little bit in the background, it doesn't have to be like an environment, but adding like a gradient, some kind of graphical shape like a circle or square or a line cutting across it. It just makes your sketch or piece of art pop out a little more. And yeah. So all in all, this was a good sort of value study. I should probably do more of these, because I did learn a little bit about detailing, because once I did focus more on the face, there are things you notice, like how the nose is kind of built, the wrinkles, like how do the eyes look when they're kind of like angry looking, when they're kind of like squished together, right? And I think you learn also you learn even more because you're approaching things in values, right? Not always via lines. Maybe you're using lines to like map things out, but eventually you need to figure out a way to illustrate like a frown or like an angry set of eyes with just these values. And I think it just leads to more of a deeper understanding a bit than say just focusing on line work. And I think this helps especially for people who struggle with doing line art. Maybe just focus more on this kind of painting value approach, and you can like detail things as you push through the painting, compared to say doing line art where, I mean, yeah, you can have like rough sketches, but you have to have like a very detailed like line work so that you can, render it and everything, so everything will go like smoothly. If that works for you, that's good. But if you're like more of a painter, like, if you're like a sketchy painter kind of guy or chick, just try this sort of thing. And try this out with like grayscale. It's a lot faster. Limit your brushes, maybe to like maximum like 3. Better if it's just 1. And yeah, and again, don't be afraid to use the LIQUIFY tool. You can learn things a lot faster, and you're just saving time, right? And you can figure things out. You can figure things out a lot quicker that way as well. And again, just paint over it, because it's going to lead to some blurs whenever you liquify something. And yeah, all in all, good episode. Good session. Enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.